Hey everyone, podcasts, as a form of entertainment, get made fun of a lot because of that whole meme where any regular guy makes one for the fun of it. But after a couple of minutes of listening to the first episode, you realize that they don't have any of the talking skills that makes a professional podcast actually interesting to listen to. But what if I told you that it was one where it's hosted by a professional comedian and his friends, but it completely lacks any enjoyability factor and is completely tone deaf in every conversation they have with a guest? It's the closest thing we'll ever have to that friend group as an extra friend who never has a chance to speak. Not because he's weird or anything, but because everyone else in there is too impatient to just shut up for a second. The main host in particular, Andrew Schulz, is painful to listen to. But man, it must have taken a lot of divine intervention to bring him and his friends together to make this mess of a podcast.
2023 was a great year for Andrew Schulz. It was the first full year since he released his comedy special Infamous, and his career reached heights few comedians will ever experience. He sold out and performed shows for his tour all across the world, in venues like the Royal Albert Hall in London, the Aware Super Theatre in Sydney, and the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. But most impressive of all, he sold out Madison Square Garden in New York, not once, but twice. Headlining MSG...
What, on the ice rink? Or did they convert it just for him, the special guy?
...believed in. So for him to sell it out twice on the same weekend was something special. If that were all he'd achieved in 2023, the year would have been a huge success.
Those eyes just pierced into you, God.
From a viewership perspective, the podcast did better than ever in 2023, raking in 160 million views on YouTube, and that's not to mention all the listens it gets on audio platforms. Andrew also appeared in 2 movies, starring in New People with Jonah Hill and Lauren London, and White Men Can't Jump with Cinco Walls and Jack Harlow. By every metric, it looks like he's killing it. But as his fame has grown, something else has grown alongside with it: his ego. Over the past year or so, there have been countless moments caught on camera where Schulz has been patronizing, dismissive of others' opinions, or just plain rude. He often comes across
He does seem like the kind of guy in high school that you would know that got bullied so much that would breed the guy with the huge ears today.
Where Andrew has made a number of his guests feel extremely uncomfortable. And judging by some of Flagrant's more recent...
Wait, how long are those podcasts? 104. Some of them were like 2 hours, which is fair enough, but one was like 4 hours. God. How can you sit down and stare at him for that long?
Before we get into it, it's important to understand the dynamic on the podcast. Andrew is the central figure on the show and directs most of the questions and conversation. Akash, who typically sits beside Andrew, is also a comedian and essentially fills the role of Schulz's sidekick. He laughs at almost all his jokes, no matter how outrageous, and constantly agrees with everything he says. Mark is also a comedian and is not too dissimilar to Akash in his dynamic with Andrew. While he doesn't come across like as much of a yes man as Akash, he routinely piggybacks on the jokes Andrew makes.
I'm nothing against these guys, but they all look like physical renditions of Soy Jacks. Just the style. Not the style, but the energy I can feel seeping out from the screen from all 4 of them.
When he disagrees with him, and there's been many times where he's been the voice of reason on the pod. As a whole, the crew has a bad habit of interrupting guests and laughing way too hard at jokes that really aren't that funny.
Oh, that's the worst, God.
Whitney Cummings made an appearance.
I was gonna say, whenever you listen to a podcast and there's one joke that's blown way out of proportion, it's kind of funny when you see them laugh for like 10 seconds, because it's kind of like, it's like infectious, where when you see someone else laugh, you want to be part of it as well and have a laugh as well. But when it goes on for so long, then it makes you just hate all of them. I imagine if I listened to the podcast, I would hate it equally as much.
Have the best reputation, as a lot of people find her annoying and unfunny, so it's not out of the ordinary for her to receive criticism. But in this episode, any and all criticism was directed at Schulz. Andrew came into the podcast with super high energy and started poking fun at Whitney from the very first minute.
You just said that I didn't watch any of the roast.
No, I just...
Is that what you just said?
I just said...
What did you just say? That I didn't watch 1 minute of the roast.
No, I sent you a link and...
What's he twirling his mustache? He was like, you tell me you didn't watch it, and he's twirling it like a villain.
Highway face. Let's just talk to each other.
I love that you just call me a dog and no, like
no,
that was
like when you think I'm setting you up for something, you do this thing.
She brushed this comment off, but just minutes later, Andrew continued making more...
I even the guy on the right was like, noticed it was gonna get more aggressive.
Faces, like it's difficult.
She can't control that.
Is listening hard for you? This is what it looks like when you're listening. This is you
Jesus
listening,
Christ,
right? This is you. I'm not talking. What do I do with my face while the other people talk?
At this point,
Oh
Whitney
boy, I can tell I'm already in for a ride. What kind of like host is like that immediately right off the bat within like the first 2 minutes of a podcast getting that aggressive with a guest? Like surely you would. I don't even know what the context was, but I feel like that doesn't matter when the first like interaction you have with the guest is that just yelling at her and making fun of the way she stands. Not the way she stands, but the way she's reacting. Like you're making faces, and to be honest, like was he expecting her to just stand there like dead face, like yeah, I agree with everything he said, even like yelling at her right in front of her face? Like man, I feel so bad for her. I feel like later on in the podcast, like the guy on the right and the two guys on the left is gonna like intervene and be like, okay, dude, shut up. Let's actually have a conversation going without like this fight, this like gladiator fight between the three of us, just watching it get worse and worse.
acting, but it didn't take long for him to pick back up where he left off.
Jersey when I was broke.
What's up with you? What's up with you today? Why do you want to fight with me today?
I didn't want to fight.
You want to fight with me today? Dude, I
That's
love
sassy.
doing corporate gigs because it's also like, it's a big business, I think, for more like female comics. Because, you know, like being a stand-up as a woman, it's not a business. It's not a viable.
Can
Yeah,
you tell us how hard it is? Like,
I'm not saying it's hard
tell us how
necessarily.
hard it is to
I'm
be a
not saying
female
it's-
comic. Like
it's
that's
not-
what we love to listen to.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's hard to be
It's
a
so tough on the road.
No, it's not what I fucking said. What are you
Guys
doing?
trying to tell you to go back to the hotel.
God,
No
dude.
one, no,
This is
bitch.
so different than being a woman anywhere
don't
else
have-
in life.
It's not.
How do you get a podcast off the ground when your main style of conversation is just making fun of the other person?
Guys always trying to go back to your hotel, and it's like, look at the face again. You're listening
no,
again.
I'm just
You put on your
you're just
listening
putting
face.
words in my mouth.
I'd rather you look at me and just think about like a dog bone. Just think about a bone. Just think about a bone.
Oh
think
my
about your
God.
happy face, and then look like this when I'm talking to you.
It's safe to say it was starting
He's
to
one of those guys on a bus where you sit next to him or in front of him, whatever, and you're forced to listen to him talk on the phone and you just despise him.
keep it up for very long.
LAPD, I mean, their whole thing is like, you don't really need, like, you know, a BB gun I have loaded, but if you have a gun, like, that solves half of your problems.
I feel like you're
Dog
having
gun.
4 different conversations with yourself right now.
You know what? First of all, how dare you? I came in here, I'm being attacked by you mother. I'm trying. I'm
You sat
trying.
down. You said I went
I'm
Hollywood.
trying.
Eventually, Whitney had enough and started firing back, hitting a pain point for Andrew around his fertility, as he and his wife had been struggling to conceive a child.
Oh, I don't care, man. He didn't count a prick.
Don't you dare do that. It's not a rock climber in the 1700s when we didn't have cables and shit.
What's going on? Did
I need to know
did
what's going on. You come on here, you
hold
say
on.
you're a big old bull dyke out of the nowhere.
Hold on. I'm
right?
not a bull dyke. I was
Come
just-
on.
Did Emma take down your Die Hard poster? What's going on? What's going on at home, Andy?
You come in.
What's going on?
I do want to get a reading from Sky on his sperm count. I think it would be interesting.
to get to the bottom
Are
of
you
it.
shooting blanks? Why are you such a grump?
Yes.
She also highlighted his hypocrisy for mocking Hollywood and the movie
I was
business.
kind of shocked when he said he had a wife, tried to get pregnant with, and that face like reinforced that he wasn't, straight.
Slowed down, with the high energy he had earlier in the episode completely disappearing. He started getting deep and pretty much turned the whole podcast into some sort of weird therapy session.
You got a lot of people who love you.
Well, I think that the key, and my best friend Nikki
Don't explain it.
told me,
Don't
if you're
explain
gonna
it.
get your heart broken,
Don't explain it.
Just take it in.
Just take it in.
but I agree.
Stop trying to
But
science
what do you want me
it.
to say though?
Just
Stop being
nothing.
a nerd with your
Don't say
facts.
anything.
Just take it in.
Don't
Just
be a
hear
nerd
it.
with your facts.
But I'm
hey,
gonna say a quote that resonated with me.
yeah, by
Give it
some
a second.
gay
Just
guy.
give it a second.
I just want to
Material.
hear about. I want to hear about your friend.
But I'm telling you, I'm
coming to your
grieving.
house
I'm doing everything
and
I need to
caring
do.
about you. That's what I want to hear about.
Yeah, they show up, which by the
It
way,
was probably frustrating.
And
It
they
was
were like-
probably annoying.
no, it wasn't. I was kind of like, because a lot of people were talking about that they were worried about me and,
What an awesome thing.
I know, I
that
agree.
people care.
From here, Schultz kept trying to psychoanalyze Whitney, which felt really out of place, especially given how the podcast started. But this change in his approach didn't make him any less rude.
I think you're
night.
going through a lot, and I think it's really cool that you have friends that care about you enough to show up and just be like, hey, how you feeling?
Yeah.
Are you good?
Yeah.
And I know in that moment, it's easy to reject it. Like I know once I was.
No, I was just trying to understand how I'm perceived.
Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
Oh my God, stop talking over her.
Fair. Why should it be?
That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
it's like neither
Okay,
sports.
Now
Like,
this is a
Oh, her face when he just talked over her.
appreciate.
I think it's sorry. Can I say something about
no,
Nepo
I
Baby?
was in the middle of a sentence.
I know, but if we're
I
moving
know,
on-
but we're not moving on. It's
But
about
do-
this.
okay.
Oh my God, it's actually just annoying.
Her face here says it all. The fact that Schultz spent the entire podcast interrupting her.
Look, you can tell in her face that she had a moment where she really tried her best to make this train wreck of a podcast keep going, but she couldn't just take that part in because it just felt like just so like nail biting.
He was acting out of line. Andrew woke up this day and decided not to let his guests talk and attack every single thing they say. My respect for Whitney just skyrocketed due to how she handled this. Respect for Schultz has plummeted. At the end of the podcast,
I was just saying now, the way he was seated and the way where she was next to him, she could have easily like threw like a roundhouse kick right to his face. That would have been perfect.
Final appearance on the Flagrant
No,
podcast.
you're more than welcome to come every single time you want.
Andrew misinterpreted.
I don't think I will.
She may have been serious about not coming back, because as yet, she hasn't made another appearance.
Good.
Schultz's behavior on the Whitney episode isn't something new. Months earlier, in November 2022, he appeared on an episode of the Full Send podcast where he did something similar. The podcast wasn't going particularly well, and Schultz started getting at the hosts for their lack of preparation. This led to a confrontation between him and Steiny, one of the hosts of the podcast, which ended up being so awkward the podcast almost got scrapped.
Me taking time out of my day to
As if like his own podcast is a prime example of how things should be going.
just being a little annoying.
How?
I think you're annoying.
Really?
A little bit. Yeah.
And what makes you think that?
Close your mouth,
It's
man.
gonna be like a therapy session.
Yeah, I mean, what the
Like he did with Whitney, Schultz then started analyzing Steiny and acting as though he had him all figured out.
No, just say how you honestly feel.
I feel good, bro. I think you're pretty
You don't
funny.
feel good. You don't feel good. You feel insecure right now because you think I don't like you. I
Playing
think
a
that
character.
I think
I'm just gonna say now, this guy's like accumulation of everything I hate onto one. One, the podcast kind of guy, where he really wants to just not speak, like not even make it. He makes it seem like he wants a podcast, but he purely wants all the attention focused on him to the point that he would just like talk over people to get his own story out of the way first. And even when he does like get it done, he'll just talk over the next person's story. And second off, he's that kind of guy where like just because he's judgy, he sees himself as a therapist where he can tell everyone's situation at the first glance and just by fixing it by just talking to them on a podcast. Like of course people can like psychoanalyze basic stuff because you can't just learn like a lot of information from just like a small sentence, but that word in general, I've only heard it in life, usually like in a bad way from just some arrogant person that thinks they're really smart. So when this guy, the narrator in this video, first brought it up, that was immediately like a dead sign that he was just gonna be annoying the entire time. And I don't even want to see how he takes the rest of this episode.
podcast about you, which is the most boring part of the conversation. We have much more interesting people to discuss whose lives
Is this
are more
planned or no?
fascinating.
No,
Oh, fuck. I don't ever want to do a podcast again, straight up.
Even that doesn't sound real.
you might have just retired him.
Oh, straight
No,
up.
yeah.
Now, Steiny is often the butt of the joke in that group, so he's an easy target. But Schultz really didn't need to go after him as much as he did. In isolation, you might not think much of it, but when you also consider his treatment of Whitney, it starts to look a lot worse.
Also, I'm pretty like there's a lot of like heartbreak from the guest or the host, sorry, about like whenever they have to scrap an episode because they have so much so much time and planning has to go into that, and all of a sudden they have to scrap it because it's not even worth like listening to.
Therapizing people is one thing, but Andrew has another habit that might be just as bad. For whatever reason, he regularly touches his guests on Flagrant during their conversations. Most of the time, this is just in a friendly and harmless way, although I'm sure there are still some people who don't appreciate it. But other times, it crosses the line into being an
There's no way this
a
guy
better example of this than when
gets pussy. I'm sorry.
in August 2023. Schultz spent the majority of the podcast cozying up to Logan, which is strange given how controversial a character he
Oh,
is.
he's the one person that would punch him. The other guy, Max Holloway, that was his name, by the way. If you didn't know, he's kind of like another dog at the moment. He's the one person that would like have a reason to punch him. But Logan Paul would have like the fragile ego to just actually attack him.
I was engaged. Now I'm engaged.
Yo, you are, dude. I'm putting the gay in it.
What are you doing?
Dude, he got D's, bro.
Wait, did he?
Dude.
This happened literally 2 minutes into the pod, and it didn't stop.
2 minutes? You couldn't keep your hands to yourself for 2 minutes?
Your arms again. He's serious, bro. Come on. Feel that, though. Feel that. Feel that.
I've been trying to size him up, and I'm like, yo, he's kind
He
of
might got you.
big. Stress between us. Andrew.
Come on, bro.
I'm insulting the
Bro,
guest.
come
He's
on,
trying to be
bro.
serious, dude.
Bro, I had to make sure the legs are also getting worked out. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to see like what part of the muscle he touched, and I'm pretty sure that part actually hurts because it's actually a joint between the knee.
No.
Nah, he ain't trying to do that.
That's a harder fight.
Okay, that's kind of funny, the fact that he put out like a prime ball, like a rabbit out of a hat.
Let me tell you
Take your
something.
shirt off. Take your shirt off, though. Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off.
Nah,
Yeah.
we won't be able to hear it.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, you got
Yeah.
that I'm cooked.
Pants
It was
off.
10 rounds.
Pants
It
off,
was
son.
10 rounds.
We knew. Take your pants off, son.
Jake was gonna win.
Take your pants off, son.
At several points here, Logan made it obvious the groping wasn't welcome, but Schultz didn't seem to care. The whole thing was just bizarre, and another guest might have been far less forgiving than Logan.
No.
One guest that hasn't been afraid to challenge Schultz is Shane Gillis. Shane is a popular comedian.
I might know this guy.
Appeared on the Flagrant podcast in October 2021. At the time, he had just released his first special on YouTube and had made his first appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Today, we had to remove the mic from the truffle because he had such a crazy weekend in Vegas. But,
They have Game Fuel. Is that G Fuel? Yeah, it's G Fuel. Don't tell me there's another time where he went on a podcast and like threw up his feed and acted like it was his own.
Since then, he's been on Flagrant twice, once in October 2022 and most recently in October 2023. Over this time, his career has really taken off. He released his second special, Beautiful Dogs, which went straight to Netflix, and he's become a regular on JRE, appearing on the podcast 14
Oh my god, how big is he? I know Joe Rogan is like the best like ruler of how tall someone is, but he looked massive in that screenshot.
He took a more conventional route to the top, relying less on social media virality like Andrew, which is part of the reason he's more respected in the scene. A lot of people see him as funnier and more of a natural talent than Schultz, and the fact he got his second ever special released on Netflix speaks to that. While Andrew lives out in New York, Shane lives in Austin, Texas, where Joe Rogan lives, and he's embedded himself into the comedy circle Joe is building there. In his last two appearances on Flagrant, there's been this weird, almost competitive energy between them, mostly coming from Schultz, and many viewers believe this is because Schultz is insecure around Gillis.
yeah, well, thank you for giving us the energy for the question we didn't ask.
No, I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Excited
What's
about
your fucking
SNL?
problem?
Respect to him, he immediately didn't make a face. He didn't like fake laugh to make the situation less awkward. He was immediately like, yeah, fine, okay. I acknowledge what you said.
I called you today. You were grumpy when I
Yeah,
called
I
you.
did have a bad attitude.
Why were you being grumpy?
Because you faked the whole I don't know what's going on thing, and
I
I didn't
didn't.
like. Oh, you did. You called me the day of the pod. You're like, oh yeah, we had that
shit.
today.
I said, oh shit, are we doing the pod today?
How often do you call me?
And I wanted to call you. I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, right before the pod.
There's no way this dumb podcast is that big to like have like that big of a landmark. Like I don't blame him for being like, oh god, I have to record an episode with those guys. God.
Yeah, that's wow. These guys are awesome.
Yeah.
They're having fun.
Yeah.
For you guys to sit here and be like,
Wait a minute.
let's bring it up and mock them. That's up, dude. That's a dude.
We're mocking
By
you. Yeah, yeah.
using them as an insult. You're-
Using.
Yeah.
We're using you.
So you're insulting them by.
I wish they showed what they said about that poor guy.
This is you back in your victim thing.
No, I'm not being a victim. I'm saying the jokes you're doing is not. It's not like.
It's not PC.
That's not cool.
You know what's really great?
Triggering.
You're making fun of these guys, these Down syndrome dudes,
Yeah.
putting out TikTok videos.
It's not easy to call out a room of people who are all on the same side, so props to Shane here. You can feel the combative energy coming from Schultz, but Gillis chose not to rise to it. This can be seen again in his most recent Flagrant appearance after Mark made a silly joke.
You gotta try Sugon with a girl.
What's Sugo?
That's where you Sugon his dick, dude. Idiot, I hate you.
Okay. That was good.
Gay. You're so gay.
Yo, how did you fall for that, Shane?
Shane looked like he wanted to be anywhere in the world other than on that couch. Schultz was clearly annoying
Dear
him,
God,
and
please
he was backing him
spawn.
in the best way
Please turn these four guys into Joe Rogan. Please, I beg of you.
against him.
I have
Then
everything I
depressed.
need, and I'm not happy as angst.
Feel.
Whoa.
You got your nails painted. You look like an angst. You know what I mean?
I love Schultz
What are you talking about?
Schultz epiphanies are my favorite.
Yo.
He repeats a statement. He's like,
That's crazy, though. It's true.
Please tell me these guys have like 5 sponsors. If I was like the marketing agent of some company, I would dump so much money into these guys.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you need to do drugs if you're in Alaska. Yeah.
I think
Yo.
if you're in Alaska,
Oh my.
Dude, it's not that funny. Calm down.
If you're like a canner in Alaska, you probably don't need heroin.
I hope you were on the wide for that. 'Cause that was hilarious.
Drugs are a necessary
That was
component.
hilarious. Yo, keep philosophizing,
I hate
bro.
how this has turned on me. I hate how this has turned on me.
You know what? I love that it did turn got off of me. How do I let this happen?
You can tell this is something Schultz's boys have been thinking for ages, but someone else bringing it up finally gave them the permission to laugh.
The lights, they're flickering.
Even more by shifting focus away from him and onto Akash. He asked Akash how the road's going and they started chatting about it, but it didn't take long for Andrew to derail their conversation.
I hate the sunglasses. I just can't see. We might as well be on Zoom.
Keep them on. Keep them.
I'm keeping them on, dude.
You
If
might
I
as
take them
well
off
be on
now, he
Zoom.
wins.
Okay.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Come on.
That's right. It's a competition thing. It's not that. I really genuinely just feel
No,
like
it
I
is a
can
competition
connect
thing.
more.
You're the one trying to take my glasses off me.
Can we reframe it?
It takes someone just crying. I wouldn't blame him.
Yo, that's really
It's not
weird.
about you for a second. Not Kyle.
Okay. Anyway, so more that was good. Some more questions.
That was good.
Some more
You really
questions
got
about
on
our
this
Also, what is the guy in the middle on the left have a MacBook when he's not using it? Is that your like one intelligent fact that you this dumb podcast?
This is something we rarely see on Flagrant, and the next guest I'm going to talk about didn't fare so well.
Jesus
In
Christ.
December,
You know what? When I first started this video and I saw that set and that clip of that first female comedian, it really seemed like only that guy, Brandon, Andrew, sorry. Like when I saw Andrew just being like that aggressive, I saw it was only him, and those three other guys were like the ones that had to like keep him chained to reality, to make him like not say dumb stuff 24/7. But after that clip, that reinforces that that kind of friendship group is the one where everyone's the exact same, because otherwise there would be one person that would stand out, and that person would hate them so much. So just about like natural selection over the years, these guys, I don't know where the friendship group started, but it was probably Andrew that, because I mean he feels like the main host, but it probably took him years to find those friends, not because they're all like incredible people, but because they have like the same horrible style of comedy or the same kind of humor as him, and that was the only people I could like interact with, because it's just so annoying.
third appearance on Flagrant, and the episode was brutal. It was as if Andrew and the others kept forgetting they had a guest on because they just wouldn't stop interrupting him. About 40 minutes into the podcast, Academic started telling a story about the first time he went to London, and what followed was difficult to watch.
I'm in London. I go to London for the first time.
Yeah. How was it?
London was kind of cool. It's definitely not America though.
Why don't you?
No.
God damn, yo, Ack, you on it.
Ack, sometimes you're the most brilliant person that I've ever met.
Thank you.
And sometimes you be saying some
Anyway. So
All he said was London was pretty cool. That's what he said.
previously hit me up to say, hey, listen,
Yo,
stop
Think about
chick.
basketball nicknames. Earl Monroe, Earl the Pearl, Black Jesus.
Novak
and you're
Kyrie.
Novak. Do you see the drop in creativity?
Anyway, so I'm in. Hold on, this all makes sense.
Fast talking
Hold on.
out. Fast talking out. I love that.
Stop
He's good.
it.
He's
No,
good.
stop it.
This
Stop
guy's
it.
good.
No.
This guy's good.
I gotta say the story.
Dude, he made him say, that guy tried to like take back control 5 times.
Minutes went by with him making little to no progress with the story, after which he tried to put his foot down.
Young M.A., yo.
Saucy Santana's a dude, but you wouldn't fight him.
Yo, Young M.A. I ain't gonna lie. Young M.A.'s there.
Can I tell my story?
Yeah, bruh.
God damn it.
Tell me your story.
You'd think that at this point they'd let him speak, but the conversation got sidetracked once again, and Academics was forced to shout over them before they finally allowed him to tell the story.
Hey, can I tell my London story?
Yeah, tell your
So
story.
now,
DJ Academics might be the most patient person I've ever seen, because he was dealing with this throughout the entire extra long 4-hour podcast. At one point,
Oh my
he
God.
was telling a different story.
I was wondering, like, which one was the one that was 4 hours long? Poor guy, it had to be that one. Destiny pulled him to that, like, Dante's Inferno of a podcast.
And Schultz began pressuring Academics to take one, continuing even after he refused.
apparently one of them is about to be passed out.
I didn't
Try
know
one of
snus.
What is this?
This is
that's some weed shit. I'm good.
It's not weed. It's a Zyn.
It's nicotine.
Oh, hell no.
No.
You're going to be hooked. I'm good. I'm good.
It's not about a hook.
You won't get hooked.
It's
hell no. I'm good.
It's like a dip.
No,
just try it.
No,
Will you
can't.
just try it?
I got.
Dude, fuck, God, I hate people like this. Like you have to try it. Incredible.
Take it out a second afterwards. You're not gonna feel anything.
Hell no. Hell
just
to the
try
no.
one.
No, I can't do it, brother. I can't do it.
Why not just try one?
No, because I'm gonna be addicted.
You're not gonna be
You're not
addicted.
gonna be
It's such a stupid thing to think.
And when you see,
That's like exactly what someone would say when they're addicted to that.
It's crazy seeing two 40-year-olds trying to peer pressure someone into taking a drug.
They're 40.
Anything else we've seen, maybe
I will say, as much as like I would hate to be around them, they have aged gracefully.
such as Adam 22 being a marketing genius for allowing his wife to make a public sex tape with another man, and Charlemagne the God being the greatest radio host of all time over hosts like Howard Stern and Wendy Williams. When academics disagreed with Schultz and gave pushback, Schultz simply bulldozed his opinion. The episode got a ton of dislikes, and the comment section is full of flagrant fans who are clearly getting sick of Andrew. It's gotten to the point now where many OGs can no longer bring themselves to watch the podcast because they feel like it's become a circus, and at the heart of it is Andrew's antics. But with the numbers still
But still, like, how do you even get that many views?
strength to strength, I doubt we'll be seeing any changes anytime soon.
I swear to God, dude. There's some podcasts where I can see why they started it, because it is like a group of comedians, and it is point and age in, you know, the future or the present. Most comedians do have to start a podcast because in their spare time they can always be doing shows. But what kind of person? I mean, some of those videos have like over like 1 million views. What people like tune in every week to listen to it and be like, oh boy, I can't wait for this massive podcast to have like some guest brought on and say a total of like 3 sentences or stories, and then just be interrupted by Andrew and all of his other friends. Like, even in the comments, people like brought up just how annoying he is. But the fact is, like, do people watch it because they actually find it enjoyable, or do they just watch to see like if there's 1 in a million chance that whatever guest they brought on was finally the one that could like have a modicum of control in the show and actually like talk about a story. Like in all the clips here, like there were no signs of a guest having a good time or even being able to like act like they're on a podcast. Like most people are going to like are invited into a set, they feel comfortable so they can like talk about whatever story, because like people like the host always like shows off every episode, but the guest is like the main part where they want to like get all the stories out of the way, and then you know how like talk between the hosts, whatever. But that one seemed like it was just the same episode with a cherry on the top of a guest, which is nice. But at that point, what's the point of like contacting them, like them or their agent, bring them from like across the country onto the show, and then like having them say like very little, and then end the episode. I get that it's 2 hours long, but even then, like I doubt they could even say a lot. Like this show really is like the best example that like anyone could start a podcast, and just because they can doesn't mean like it'll be good. Like man, like this seemed like one of those podcasts that's started by 4 guys that hang out at a bar every day, but then all of a sudden one of them has like a eureka idea to start a podcast and put a mic in front of their face. But if there's any group of people that definitely don't have a mic, it's them. Like this video was just painful. Not the video by the actual guy, but just the story in general was just unbearable. God.